Today I'm going to show you a case comprehensive plan to determine if $3 million is enough to retire with a $120,000 budget per year. Everybody, I'm Justin Ancona with Legacy Wealth Advisors, and our goal is to guide and educate families to steward their legacy for generations. All right, so let's get into this case comprehensive plan. So here we've got the mock clients, John and Jane Doe, that we're looking at. Both of these clients are 60 years old. They both have income of 100,000 per year, and they're still going to be working for a few more years. So when we're looking at, we'll move along here and look at the retirement period, where we're having them retire in 5 years at age 65, and we're planning out into their mid to early 90s. So we're looking for the money to last for basically 30 years in retirement, planning to age 92 and 94. And if we move along here, we look at the goals that we have during this period. They've got a budget of $10,000 a month or $120,000 per year. They've also decided that for the first 15 years, so from age 65 to 80, that they probably want to be traveling more. So we put a travel budget of $20,000 per year to occur for the first 15 years of retirement. We often talk about the kind of early years are the go-go years, and those mid-retirement years are the slow go. And then kind of the later years of retirement is more the no-go. So we plan a little bit more for a little bit more spending early on in retirement. And then you'll see here an important part of them continuing to work until 65 is because they have healthcare provided by their employer. And then at age 65, the Medicare will kick in for each of them. And so we've got the cost for that for healthcare much lower than what it would be if they were retiring now or in a year or two. They'd have that gap where they're paying more for healthcare expenses before they reach age 65. Continuing along, if we look at what's funding these goals that they have, a big portion for them, they've got Social Security coming in, 40,000 per year each. That's starting right now for planning purposes. We have that kicking in at their full retirement age of 67. We can look at different scenarios. We won't in today's video, but you can look at what does it look like if one or both of them delay to 70, because they'll get an 8% per year increase in their benefit. And that would be permanent for life. So that's something we can kind of look at and see, does it make sense for them, for their situation? But this is what we're planning for right now. Moving along here, if we take a look at what's the investment assets, what's funding, we've got, both of them have IRAs. We've got them valued at $1 million each. John has a Roth IRA for $250,000. Then they have a trust brokerage account. So this is $750,000. So total all in, they've got $3 million. That's looking to bridge that gap between what their need is and what they have coming in. So they've got $80,000 coming in from Social Security. They don't have any other retirement income, and they've got a need of $120,000. Plus, for 15 years, they've got an additional $20,000. And then the healthcare expenses as well. I'll show that a little bit later on, kind of breaking that out a little bit more. They also have a home in here. We've got their home valued at $1 million, and we're not using the home to fund their goals. The idea is that they're living in their home. They'll continue to live in their home. They potentially, maybe down the road, they may downsize, but we're not planning on that for right now. So net worth all in, they're just at $4 million here, and for planning purposes, they don't have any debt, so zero debt. Moving along to looking at we call this the what if, or kind of this is the play zone where we can move different levers and look at different things. But based on all those assumptions, Jane and John, they're in this 92% success rate in the above confidence zone. You might say, that seems good, but what does that mean? And so to show you more on what we mean by that, because if you give a 92% success rate for maybe a root canal, that's maybe not great. You don't want to be that 1 out of 10. But when we look at this, anything in this 90% or above, we're saying that's a good spot to be. So we'll pull this up here. This is looking at 1,000 different market trials, and we look at average and then below average. And so what we're planning on for average markets of maybe 5.75%. This is based on the customized portfolio that we have for Jane and John of 70% equity and 30% bonds. Depending on the allocation, this might be a little bit higher or lower. And so we've got an assumption average of 5.75. That's good markets, bad markets. And we show that at the end of the plan, they may be left over with an end of the plan, meaning into the early to mid 90s, 3.4 million in today's dollars is what they could be left with. So that's, showing that their money's going to outlive them. They're not going to outlive their money. Now, if we look at, just coming back here, if we change this to look at, a more below average return, so this is a 750th worst case out of 1,000, bottom 25%, maybe a 4.75% return. Again, good markets, bad markets. This is looking at from when they retire, or sorry, from now until the end of their plan. This would be the point of when they retire. And when we look at the end of plan dollar amount, again, this is why they're in that above confidence zone of the 92%, is because they've still got 1.7 million left over. Now, the reason they're maybe not in that the highest or the 99% success rate is because if we do look at, we call this a bottom 1%, trial, the 990th worst case for 1%, per year return, we showed that the money could go to zero in maybe 20 years or in year 2025, or sorry, in year 25. And so this is why they're in that lower 90% versus the upper. But again, we're looking at average markets and then even below average markets, and they've still got money left over in their plan. One thing we won't go into today, but we show, and we can show what the scenario looks like when you say, I'm curious, this is the budget you've given me, 120,000 plus 20,000 spending for travel. What is the most I could spend and still be in the green zone? So this green zone is the confidence zone, where you're still in a good spot. If you're in this green zone, in average returns, you're still having money left over. So that's something we call the wealth floor, looking at, hey, what is the most we can maybe spend and not drop into this purple zone, which is the below confidence zone. We don't want to be dipping into that area there. So that's looking at, what does that 92% mean, that above confidence zone? It's looking at a hypothetical, they call it a Monte Carlo analysis on different market types. Now, we'll keep things as is, and I want to show you into the framework for retirement for this case study. So if we're looking at where this client's at, we're looking at this retirement framework here and wanting to see what is their withdrawal rate, what does it look like when they're actually in retirement. So this is showing that first year in retirement is year 2029. So 5 years from now, they're both 65. And what we're showing is at that time, they don't have any money coming in, no reliable income, because we say Social Security is not for them. We're not planning on it till 67. So they have a need of 146,000. That is their budget of 120 plus the healthcare plus inflated. The system, our software, inflates the need over the next couple of years, and so we have a gap between what's coming in and what we need of 146. We also have an additional, we call this the wants. We'd like for the travel of the 20,000 that's inflated to 22, and then we've got the estimated taxes that would be resulted from the withdrawals and
for the client. And so this would be maybe another 30. So we're saying all in, the client would need to pull out just under 200,000 from the portfolio, which is just a touch under 5% as a withdrawal rate. So that's just looking at that first year in retirement, right? And so if we bump this up to age 67, that's when Social Security will kick in. And that's when we have, the inflated Social Security come in. That really dampens, it lessens the amount that we need to take out from the portfolio. We were at 200 in the first year. Now we're at 125, or maybe just 3%. And so in this case here, it looks like the client on the front end, and you see in this chart down here, they're taking out a higher percentage from their portfolio, and then it dips down. And on average, that's 3.32% withdrawal rate. But this is something we'd want to look at and say, does it make sense for potentially one spouse to take Social Security at 65 to start to lessen the amount that you need to take from the portfolio in those first 2 years? Or what are things that we can do? What are levers we can maybe pull to best support the portfolio and the longevity of the financial plan?
So hopefully this was helpful, and you can see that based on the assumptions we used, this sample client would be in a good spot to retire for the goals that they have. It is important to plan ahead as you are approaching retirement so that you can make an informed decision about your retirement and any changes that need to be made. As always, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for our next video.